I hereby call the Iberia Parish Council meeting of January 9th to order. It's now 6 o'clock. Oh Lord, thank you for having us here today and watching over us, and help us to work through all these agendas and do the public's business. Amen. Amen. Ms. Broussard.
I pledge allegiance
Roll call.
Tommy Pollard. Here. Michael Landry. Here. Tommy Landry. Here. Lloyd Brown. Here. Warren Goshasane. Here. Natalie Broussard.
here.
Paul Landry.
Here.
Ricky Gonsalas. Joe Dugas. Here. Eugene Olivier. Here. Brian Napier. Here. Berwick Francis. Marty Trahan. Here. Chad Macharan. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum, so now we'll move on. I need a motion and a second to go into public comments. I have a motion by Tommy Pollard, a second by Mr. Olivier. Roll call. That motion passes. We're now in public sessions, public comments. This policy allows for 3 minutes per person. Item number 1, comments from the general public on non-agenda items. We have no forms being turned in for that, so we'll move on to item number 2, comments from the general public on agenda items. A, persons being considered for appointment to parish boards, commissions to address the council. The first person up we have is Mr. Tim Boudreau, and he'll be speaking on item number 228.
Good evening.
Please announce your name.
My name is Tim Boudreau. I live in District 5. And my concern for being here tonight is the potential installation of flap gates on the commercial canal. It may alleviate flooding on certain places, but to me there's a potential to flood over 400 residences. And I don't think it should be done. Water's not going to just sit and wait for a gate to be opened again. If it can't go where it normally goes, it's going somewhere else. So that's the one thing I would look at. Please look at it. Please consider, where is that water going to go? And the reason I'm that concerned and that passionate about it is coming straight to me, my family, and a bunch of residences. And like I said, I think it's a poor idea, poor planned idea. I don't think we ought to be spending money on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. David Broussard, also speaking on item 228.
Also, my name is David Broussard, Yardbury City Councilman of District 3. Possible increased risk of flooding at Briarwood subdivision. Recently, Iberia Parish Council presented an idea to install flap gates to help control surge waters from the commercial canal. This would help protect some businesses from flooding due to surge waters, and the installation of the proposed flap gates will most likely be installed. My concern is, while the flap gates would help protect some of the businesses from flooding, it could increase the threat of flooding at Briarwood subdivision. Briarwood subdivision is in the city of Yardbury, adjacent to the commercial canal and Lewis Street. It's been my residence for over 28 years. I've seen it all. This is my own personal touch here. I've looked at that canal on the big surge we all had. It is kind of major. When you have 8 inches to go to get over that commercial to come on Briarwood, and it comes straight to my house. We have 3 foot of water on a normal rain. I had to buy flood insurance after that surge. It can hurt us. Briarwood subdivision is in the city of New York, adjacent to commercial canal, Lewis Street. Residential homes at Briarwood downhill from the commercial canal would definitely be affected by flood waters. I have been watching the water levels on the commercial canal very closely During the last major water surge commercial, I saw the water rise within inches of overflowing into Broward. I would like the city to investigate this situation, determine if flap gates constructed on the commercial canal near the Port of Iberia would create an increased flood risk for the Broward subdivision. And if so, what safety measures could the city implement to protect Broward and other businesses on Lewis Street from flooding? I thank y'all. That's how I feel. I represent that district closest. We're the closest to where you want to put it. That's why everybody in here is involved in this, and we never know what that water's going to do. But don't stop at one place and put it in another place.
Thank you very much. Next up is Mr. Lloyd Milliman, also speaking on 228.
Good evening, council and audience. My name is Lloyd Milliman. I'm in District 5, 823 Briarwood. I'm addressing this meeting on topic 228 as well. Basically, the request is to request budget funds to install flap gates. Okay, flap gates are very active and efficient way of stopping and deferring water. However, there's been no evidence of any survey or study done on where that water will go once you install those flap gates. Once you stop water from flowing one way, it's going to go somewhere else. And that somewhere else, like Mr. Broussard commented, is our neighborhoods, our residents. So let's get a survey done to see where a professional engineering survey done to see where the water will go before any work's done, period. And then we determine if the work should be done or not. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Mr. Troy Como. He'll be speaking on 1, Summary 2, Summary 6, and Summary 228 for a total of 3 minutes.
Not 3 minutes each.
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. My name is Troy Como. I live at 1609 Southwood Drive, District 5, in Parish District number 5, and then down the street from Mr. Broussard. But first of all, I want to say thank you for moving along summary number 1 and number 2, the projects, the roundabout for the airport access road, as well as the Lewis Street widening project. I was spent quite a bit of time pushing those efforts through, and I'm glad to see that they're finally moving forward. And I surely understand the process in which that is taking place. But I would encourage you to bring those projects back to the council at the time that the final scope of work is being drawn and developed and adopted. In resolutions in 2010 and 2011, 2010 and 2011, we passed the resolutions describing the Lewis Street widening project in great detail. And I'm told today that that scope of work is not the same. So I would encourage you to, and I've inquired with many of you sitting here and on the council tonight, and I haven't been able to get an understanding, a description, or an explanation of the scope of work and what that Lewis Street widening project looks like. So if it's moving forward, it would be good for the public to know what's going to happen, what it's going to entitle, and what it's going to look like. So again, thank you, but please find a way to bring that back to the council so that the public can know, and those of us who are interested in following those projects, we can stay in touch. Summary number 6 speaks to the awarding of the contract for the renovations of the old Dutch Godnell building. Rumor has it across town that the project was over budget a couple of times, and we understand that the engineering has been changed, but we'd like to know what the contract, how much it's for. That wasn't on the agenda, which is kind of odd. But it also, I would also like to know, as soon as we can, just let us know about what percentage of completion that contract will bring us in that project. If you have any questions, I'll be available. And also 228, we were promised a couple of weeks ago at a public meeting at Iberian Middle that we would find out more science, more engineering, and more information before the project would move forward. And here we are tonight with it on the agenda, considering moving money for that project. And I haven't, no one that I talked to on the council today has any idea of any updated information as far as where the water will go. I'm all for helping those businesses. They need the help, but we want to do it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Mr. David Benson. He'll be speaking on item 230.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Benson, and I'm here to introduce myself to the Parish Council and express my sincere interest in serving on the Hospital Board of Commissioners. I'm a Louisiana native. I was raised in Shreveport. Don't hold that against me. But I've been in New Iberia since 2009. I reside in District 1, and I practice urology on the North Campus of Iberia Medical Center. I have 31 years of experience in healthcare business, working in both major metropolitan areas as well as in small communities. Because of this exposure, I feel I can bring an experienced voice and perspective to the organization while working to sustain and improve the healthcare of our community. You can find details of my experience on my CV, which is attached to my application, so you can read that. I don't have to go through that line by line. I know I can provide unbiased insight and oversight as the board member, always acting in the best interest of our citizens and the patients and employees of Iberia Medical Center. I have no conflicts of interest and no direct financial or employment relationship with the hospital. Thus, I can be totally objective in my assessment of the issues that come before the board. I would greatly welcome your appointment to the board and will make every effort to work with other members of the board, hospital leadership, and the parish council for the betterment of our community. I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening, and thank you for your consideration. If anyone would like to contact me directly, I'm always available, and my contact information is on the application. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Dr. Benson. Next up is Dr. Jose Mata, also speaking on item number 230.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jose Mata. I'm here also to introduce myself. I was nominated by the Medical Executive Committee to represent the medical staff on the board of Iberia Medical Center. A little bit about my background. I moved here in 1983 after finishing my residency program in family practice. I'm practicing office-based and hospital-based medicine, also filling in for the Schumacher Group as a hospitalist. Brief background is I've served on the board of Dotreeve Hospital for a couple of terms. I've been in family medicine chairperson. Also, I do the pharmacy, the improvement and quality assurance committee, as well as I'm the case manager, medical director at Iberia Medical Center, reviewing charts. I'm independent, not hospital employed, no conflict of interest, along with my partners, Dr. Kuzan and Dr. Menard. Being office-based and hospital-based and in general medicine, I feel I can contribute to the board expertise and push this hospital to the excellence that I think it can be pushed to. Appreciate your consideration. If you have any questions, you can contact me at my office through my office manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Miss Catherine Court, and she's talking on the library board that we'll be electing next meeting.
Good evening, Council. I'm Catherine Kitty Court, and I'm here applying for a position on the Iberia Parish Library Board, and I do believe that we need, in order for us to bring growth and prosperity to Iberia Parish, we do need to build our libraries up and keep our libraries going, because that is a main criteria that companies and people moving into Iberia Parish will consider is our programs at the library. We have a lot of wonderful programs for people of all ages, and also it is a center of culture, a center of information, as well as education and reading. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Courts. Okay, now we need a motion and a second to go back into regular session. I have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Roll call. Okay, we're now back in regular session. Reports, Finance and Administration of Action. Number 1, balance sheet for November 2018 on request. Item number 2, budget report for November 2018 on request. Reports, parish and other governmental agencies. The monthly building report dated December 2018 was in your packet. Public Works reports, Public Works Department report for open work orders dated December 18, 2018. That was in your packets. Special business, where item number 1, election of officers. At this time, we'll take nominations for the chairman. Mr. Brown.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
I nominate Paul Landry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. I accept. Next up will be Mr. Napier.
I nominate Mr. Warren Goshasan.
Okay. Okay, he's accept with that. Okay, now we'll take out our district pads and go ahead and vote for your candidate. Okay, district number 1, Paul Landry. District number 2, Paul Landry. District 3, Paul Landry. District 4, Paul Landry. District 5, Mr. Warren. District 6, Paul Landry. District 7, Paul Landry. District 8, Warren Goshasan. District 9, Warren. District 10, Paul Landry. District 11, Warren Goshasan. District 13, Paul Landry. District 14, Warren Goshasan. Okay, the votes come out, Paul Landry 8 and Warren Goshasan 5. So I guess I'll just stay where I'm sitting today. Thank you very much. Thank you, Warren. Item number 2, B, is nominations for vice chairman. We have any nominations? First is Mr. Olivier. Mr. Olivier.
I'd like to nominate Tommy Landry for vice chair.
Okay, Mr. Landry, you good with that? Okay. Mr. Goshasan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate the council member from District 11, Mr. Napier.
Okay, Mr. Napier. Okay, so any other nominations? Seeing none on the board, go ahead and vote your pad. District 1, Tommy Landry. District 2, Tommy Landry. District 3, Tommy Landry. District 4, Tommy Landry. District 5, Brian Napier. District 6, Brian Napier. District 7, Tommy Landry. District 8, Brian Napier. District 9, Brian Napier. District 10, Tommy Landry. District 11, Brian Napier. District 13, Tommy Landry. District 14, Brian Napier. There's no congratulations. The vote was 7 to 6. Mr. Tommy had 7 and Brian Napier had 6. We have 13 of us.
Oh, that's right.
We need 8. Okay, get your pad and we're going to re-vote again. Okay, District 1, Tommy Landry. District 2, Tommy Landry. District 3, Tommy Landry. District 4, Tommy Landry. District 5, Brian Napier. District 6, Tommy Landry. District 7, Tommy Landry. District 8, Brian Napier. District 9, Brian Napier. District 10, Tommy Landry. District 11, Brian Napier. District 13, Tommy Landry. District 14, Brian Napier. Okay. We have Tommy Landry with 8 votes and Brian Napier with 5. So, Mr. Tommy, you'll be the vice chairman next year. Congratulations. Okay, move.
We don't switch seats now?
No, she said we just do it next time. Yeah, we did. Moving on to council member announcement. Does any council members have any announcements? Okay, Michael Landry.
Just want to get the parish to real everybody that we've been working on that Robert B. Green building, and we came up with some suggestions. We met Monday along with the Robert B. Green commissioners, and hopefully, if everything goes right, we should be working on that building. I don't know if we get the state to approve or we got everything. We should be looking at 2 or 3 months down the line. So.
Okay. Seeing no other council members, we'll move on to parish president's announcements. Mr. Reshorn.
Okay, starting off with the litter abatement program. On January the 5th, we had 5 people that was out picking up trash. We picked up trash in the area of Bob Street and David Dubois Road. We picked up 25 bags of trash. We had tires and all types of other debris that we was able to handle from that particular morning. The litter abatement program, for the people that don't know, that's people that's having community service, people that need some community service hours. So we use those people where it's no expense to Iberia Parish. And the meeting that Michael just finished talking about, the Robert B. Green building, was a very successful meeting that we had this week. I think we're going to make some headway on that, hopefully moving forward. But again, we still have to get approval from the state, and we still have to make sure that the state representative and everyone else is aware and on board what it is that the board recommended. Public Works, this past week, we've been cleaning culverts in District 5, District 9, District 12, and District 13. Debris pickup in District 12. We had trees down in District 10, 13, and 14. We did some field drainage in District 5, 10, and 14. Roadside drainage work in District 5, 10, 12, and 13. Road patching in District 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14. And you're going to hear a lot of road patching this year simply because the amount of money that we have or the lack thereof of money that we have for road materials. So we won't be doing any overlaying. We already knew that. But we're going to have a lot of patching that's going to take place. So I expect a lot of people this year to be very upset with roads, because once you patch a road, it don't last that long, and you got to go back out and patch it again. But due to the amount of money that we have right now in this particular road fund, that's what we're going to be doing a lot of. Road repairs in District 7, we did some side booming in field districts in District 2 and District 14. If I can, I'd like to try to briefly talk a little bit about some of the points that was made earlier in reference to some of the different projects that we're looking to do in Iberia Parish. On December the 20th, we had a town hall meeting, and we discussed the possibility of installing floodgates, flap gates on Commercial Canal. At that particular meeting, we truly tried to make the people understand that we're not installing, we're trying to make the parish council understand what it is that we need to do before, because these are dollars that's coming from Go Mason. These are dollars that the parish has never, ever had in Iberia Parish. That when we're going to go out and do some work, whenever that's going to be, we as a parish council and the administration all have to be on the same page. I've contacted the Department of Interior. I contacted our U.S. senators. I contacted our our congressmen, our state delegation, and no one really have a clear definition of what can and can't be used, what these dollars could be used for. I tried to make it perfectly clear at the town hall meeting on December the 20th that nothing is going to be done without getting engineering to go out and do hydraulic studies so we can find out what's going to happen with water. Anyone with common sense know that if you stop water, the water that's coming up is going to go somewhere. So someone made a comment that if you put a flap gate and your water is rising, that water that used to go somewhere, if it's not going to go where it used to go, it's going somewhere. So that's why we have to get engineering to come in, a certified engineer to come in, do the analysis, tell us what's going to go on, and if the parish council decide this is a project, or wherever we're going to be doing these projects, if it's a project that should be done, we'll make that determination at that particular time. We have several parishes in the state of Louisiana that's already spending these dollars on projects. In fact, some of the parishes, the parish next door to us in St. Mary, actually using some of these dollars to do some road repairs on roads that they feel was damaged due to flooding. But just like they told me, they have extra dollars in case they come back and get penalized in an audit and say, you spent these dollars on the roads, you need to give us this money back. And they'll just take it from their fund and give the money back. We don't have that luxury. So we have to be certain before we go out and do any project that we did all of our homework and everything is actually, approved before we go out and do this. So no one in Iberia Parish should be concerned that I'm going to go out and do flap gates or anything without getting the appropriate paperwork and stamps that we have to have according to FEMA. I had a meeting, that meeting took place on December the 20th. On December the 27th, right between Christmas and New Year's, I had a meeting with the port director and two engineers from two different engineering companies and a member of the levee district, and I'm going to do this really quick. So we talked about that particular project and the need for projects like flood control projects in Iberia Parish, and we have needs for flood control projects, and we're going to have to do them at some point in time. But what we all came to agree to is that it was pointed out and agreed by all in attendance that in order to address the tidal issues and drainage, the parish would have to perform a drainage analysis, which is required by FEMA Flood Plan Management Program. That's the policy. We have to do this. So anyone that's feeling that we're going to do a project without getting the proper analysis before we do this, it can't happen. It's not even, you have to follow the flood plan program. You worked in that department before, if I'm not mistaken, am I correct? Okay. So Iberia Parish received a lot of dollars from FEMA. We have to follow FEMA guidelines, and that's all we're trying to do right now. And before I go and do a project without this parish council knowing what's going on, it's not going to happen. It's just that simple. It will not happen. So finished with that one. Another comment was made was about the Lewis Street. When we came into office in 2016, we didn't change the plans for Lewis Street. I have a book right here that's showing everything that took place way back from 2013 or 12 on what took place with the Lewis Street project. We didn't change anything. We just moving forward with what was actually approved, apparently at that time, by the administration. Today, in speaking to Bayreuth and Habits, one of the engineers that worked for Bayreuth and Habits, who no longer is there, he said that the project that we're moving forward with now is a change that was made by the administration, not by this administration. And in fact, when I had him on the phone, I had 2 councilmen in my office, correct? Chairman?
Yes,
Finance chairman? Did he say that?
that is
Okay,
correct.
so we are not changing anything. We're moving forward with a project. Also, in this particular book, the project numbers that they're showing for some of the things that was going to be done on that Lewis Street project. Number one was they were going to have a turning lane going into Briarwood subdivision with a how do they call it, a TWLTL. So let me see what that means. Somewhere in here, it's a turning lane, a left turning lane to go into that subdivision. That was over $3 million. Project, the funds that we have is not going to cover that. So the project that we are doing right now, we have funds for it. And you council have been made aware of everything I've been doing. As I get the information, I try to give all of the information to you. So we didn't change the project. We moved forward with the project that was already presented when we came here. I don't remember what the other one was the Public Works facility. The Public Works facility is, you're right, when the bids went out, it came back over what we wanted to spend on that particular building. So instead of doing like some have done in the past and do a change order, not knowing what that end dollar is going to be, I recommended that we wouldn't do that. I recommended that we would go back, and even though it would take another couple of months to go out and bid it all over again, go out and bid. So when that bid would come back, you're going to know what that number is. That's what we did. So we all know what that number is, and that number did come back on the budget. So with that said, I want to give you some good news now. This morning, the Human Resource Director called me in, and our insurance from Blue Cross, this looked like we're going to get a 5% reduction in our rate, which is a good deal. So we need it at this particular time. So every nickel that we can not have to spend in this parish is a big thing for us. So 5% reduction in our rate is going to probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I guess, around maybe $140,000+, maybe, Kim, somewhere close to that number. So that's my report. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Larry, going back to Dutch Gosnell, I think it was maybe a meeting or 2 meetings ago, you were going to get the intel of all of what was going to do in the scope of work that came in on a bid. I've yet to receive that, and several council members have yet to receive that.
Brenda, did Mike send it to you?
And that's why I'll go back to say, we're voting on information tonight that we don't have.
Okay. Well, the Dutch guys.
I'm good, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do you want me to answer you?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see it. I want to see it for myself.
Yeah, well, I don't understand, because actually I told Michael to send that actual package to Brenda. I really thought you guys had it. My fault. I'll take the blame if he didn't send it to you. My fault.
Okay, moving on, consent agenda items for the public hearing and adoption. Minutes, regular meeting of December 12, 2018, regular meeting of December 19, 2018. Summary number 1, introduced by legal counsel, a resolution authorizing the Iberia Parish President to execute an agreement by and between the state of Louisiana Department of Development and Iberia Parish Government relating to state project number H012792, Federal Aid Project H012792, Louisiana 675, Jefferson Island Road at Airport Roundabout, Louisiana 675, Jefferson Island Road, Iberia Parish. Summary number 2, introduced by the legal counsel, a resolution authorizing the Iberia Parish President to execute an agreement by and between the state of Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, and Iberia Parish Government relating to State Project Number H013522, Federal Aid Project Number H013522, South Lewis Street Widening, Iberia Parish. Summary number 3, introduced by the Clerk of the Council, a resolution authorizing the Iberia Parish President to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between Iberia Parish Government and the City of New Iberia to each purchase one solid-state digital player at the approximate cost of $625 to be utilized for playing both governments' recorded meetings for transmission by the cable companies. Summary number 4, introduced by Lloyd Brown, District 4, resolution proclaiming February 2019 as Black History Month in Iberia Parish. Summary number 5, introduced by Warren P. Goshasan Jr., District 5, a resolution of condolences to the family of Victor Vic Delcom, City Marshal of New Iberia, who passed away on December 27, 2018. Summary number 6, introduced by the Parish President, a resolution accepting the bid and authorizing the awarding of a contract with Menville Lumber Company for the additions and renovations to Iberia Parish Public Works Facility, Old Gosnell Building Project. Is there any items in the consent agenda that anyone would like to pull out?
Ms.
Ms. Goshasan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to remove summary number 2, summary number 5, and summary number 6 from the consent agenda.
So 2, 5, and 6.
Yes, sir, and I'd like to address 5, if we, summary number 5 first, if that's okay with the chairman.
Okay, I have a couple other people.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Napier.
Actually, Warren, that's what I wanted to do. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so on the consent agendas, we'll be pulling out summary number 2, summary number 5, and summary number 6. So we'll now be voting, let's see, I need a motion by Mr. Napier and a second by Mr. Olivier, so roll call. Okay, those other items passed. I'm going to go now to summary number 4, summary number 5. Let's see, I have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a second by Ms. Broussard.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Now that the floor has been initiated, if there's anyone from the family that would like to step up and say anything at this time? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I concur with Ms. Broussard's unanimous second to adopt.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a unanimous second, roll call. Okay, that motion passes. Okay, go ahead, you have the floor.
And the family, I wasn't able to make the funeral. My condolences and prayers with y'all. And Ms. Pearl, thank you for giving 40 years of your life to public service. And Mr. Vic, because I know you paid the price on that. And our condolences are with y'all.
Okay, well said, Mr. Trone. Mr. Richard?
Again, you have my condolences. If there's anything at all that I can help to do for you and for your family, y'all, please let me know. Mr. Vic was a very, very well-liked man, a very nice man, and we got along very well. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we're now gonna, I need a motion and a second on summary number 2. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Ms. Broussard?
I'll wait.
Waive. Mr. Gonsalas?
Why is it there again?
Mr. Goshasan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll ask the administration now exactly what entails in the Acadiana planning for this project. I know he talked a little bit about it earlier, about stuff from 2013 and before our administration. Can you tell me, what does this cover?
Yes. What's taking place with the Acadiana Planning Commission, we're going to get $2.2 million to fund this particular widening of this particular project. The monies that we had to do the project at the beginning was monies that from the TIF district, and in fact that money is still allocated to this project in the TIF district. But once we started to talk about this project, I was able to get the Acadiana Planning Commission to give us, Iberia Parish, $2+ million to use that for this particular project. And that's the actual total cost. The total cost is 2.245, but we have to pay 40%, which is roughly $449,000, $450,000. Instead of paying the $2.2 million using all of our TIF dollars. This particular project is the exact same project that Chris Cole came and explained to you guys earlier in the year, how it was going to work, when it was going to start, the whole 9 yards, when they would go out for the project to try to get a project number. Actually, we have a project number now. The project number is 801352. He actually said that was going to take place around in March of 2018. We was going to do the state agreement in September of 18. The environmental is going to start in March of 2019. So you have a calendar that you were presented with last year. So nothing changed from that. We're still involved with it.
I guess the question is, for me, is going back to the actual program. You said earlier that we were looking at a cost of $3 million in that ballpark figure to go back to the initial project of the council?
No, apparently, Warren, this project changed many times. I wasn't here, we wasn't here. Talking to Bayreuth and Habits today, this project changed many times. When it first started, what he said is the project was on Lewis Street, if you're heading from the port going toward Admiral Doyle, the only thing that, at the beginning, apparently, they were talking about doing is making a turn lane to be able to turn right to go to toward Walmart or whatever. Then the project changed, and they decided they was going to back. I may not have these sequences exact. I wasn't here, but I'm trying to repeat as well as I can from what they said today. Then the project came to where they were going to back the project up a little bit farther and have 2 lanes going straight across and 1 going right. Then the project changed to where they was going to do some construction on both sides of Admiral. Then it changed again to where they was going to have the lane that's coming from, per se, Center Street coming to Lewis Street, where 2 lanes would be turning left onto Lewis Street. Then the project changed to where they was going to have it going turning lanes all the way to Briarwood.
Okay.
So apparently there was a lot of things that took place over those years when they were talking about it. But when we got here, the project was all about the intersection itself, and that's what we used the same company, which is Bayreuth and Habits, that was doing it for the previous administration, and just moved forward. So
And that was
really changed.
Help me to understand. Did we pass that in a resolution to change it or amend it?
We never had. It was done before we got here. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
So if it was done with the intentions of the turning arrow into Briarwood, am I understanding
No,
that?
sir. That wasn't the last. That wasn't the last thing that took place. The last thing that took place with the drawings is this.
See, I didn't get most of that information. Maybe some of the council members didn't.
So this is not anything that I was involved in. This was
Okay.
in 2014.
Well, I think we need to see that information. I just got this packet tonight, but
Warren.
as far as the intel of the information.
Yeah, listen, I wasn't involved in that.
Oh, I understand what you're
didn't
saying.
deal with this at all. What I'm
Right.
trying to tell you is what they had,
Okay.
what they were working with,
Okay.
we simply just moved it forward. We didn't change anything. So what you don't have, you're gonna have to do your research like I did, and I can give you this whole book if you want.
Please, I mean, I want to go back to make sure that, what council resolution was passed at the time. I don't know how we can just change it, just to make sure.
We didn't change it, again.
Okay. If you will, Mr. Chairman, allow, discussion to go on, but I'd like to offer a table until we can get some of that information on this, if you don't
Okay.
mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'll move on. Ms.
That's fine.
Broussard, you'll be up next.
Kim, can you tell us how much is in the TIF district allocated to this project?
It's over 2 million. I'm not 100% certain on the amount.
All right. So, even if we had used all of the TIF money that we have, plus what we get, it's still not enough to do what the original project is. What?
Okay, it's still not enough. I guess I'm gonna put it like this. The project appeared to have changed a whole lot. When we got here, that part, if we call it the original project, it sounded like the original project was just to make one turn lane going right. And then it changed to where they wanted to make one turning lane going right and 2 lanes going straight. Then they changed it to where they wanted that plus some work on the opposite side. Then they changed it. Am I right, Lloyd? I mean, y'all were here. Somebody gonna have to help me because I wasn't here. Ricky, you were here. Is that how it worked? Yeah, because I'm trying to explain something that I wasn't involved in. You know, I did my research and I went back and pulled, and believe me, I went all over the place to find the paperwork that I have.
The initial concern was that the underground utilities.
That's a big problem.
Towards College Park was a significant cost in the project and ran the project up significantly. So they wanted to eliminate the cost of removing those underground utilities. So that's why they eliminated a portion of it. Because past Kmart, the utilities that are present there ran the cost up almost 30% that we didn't have in the budget. So that was one of the recommendations to avoid those utilities.
Right.
And that's how I remember it being voted on.
Go ahead.
I think
there was a traffic analysis that was performed.
There was.
That showed that the issue is at the intersection. So I think that's another reason why they moved forward with the lane changes at the intersection.
And
They
some-
indicated that, I don't think there was much impact from the Broward area.
Right. And something else I ended up finding after researching is the traffic study that was done apparently by the Department of Transportation. Now, I don't know if it was done for this particular project, but it looked like it was done at the end of 2011. And that's exactly what it's showing. The real traffic count, the high traffic count is not really, even though there's a lot of people that's coming at that particular time from the Port of Iberia crossing that Madal, looked like the biggest traffic count was on Atmodorio turning onto it sure is on Atmodorio, just going straight.
Natalie and then Joel.
So anyway, that's where we're at. We changed absolutely nothing with the project. The drawings were done by Bayreuth and Habits when we got here, and they're still done. So we didn't do any of that.
the packet that we got tonight.
And I just gave you that today, just so you have something.
But all of this that's attached to this email was the presentation
That's all
that
it
was
is.
given to us that was done
Because I had
several
one-
months ago,
Right,
correct?
because I had a councilman that said they had never seen it, so I wanted to make sure that that's the same thing you had seen several months ago.
And if I remember right from when Mr. Cole had come in,
Mhm.
I mean, with the Acadiana Planning Commission, there's a lot of details that go into it.
That's right.
If it gets tabled tonight and we try to change this project,
yeah.
the project's,
Right.
I mean, at least the 2.245 we're getting
That's
from them
gone.
may be off the table.
Right. So
I'm-
then we'll have to figure out how we're gonna do the project. And the thing about it, with the Department of Transportation doing the project, I think Ricky just mentioned that there's a lot of utility concerns that's taking place that have to be done. And the Department of Transportation can do certain things that the parish can't do when they're doing project for improvements. But you know what? At the end of the day, the project, like was mentioned by Troy, was already on the table when we got here. It just wasn't moving. The only thing I did was bring it to light and try to move it forward.
Well, and I understand that in the perfect world, we would like the project to be extended back all the way
And
to
it may
Briarwood.
one day.
But at this point, to delay at least what we've got going on, where it's not 2.2 coming out of our pocket, it's only less than $500,000 coming out of our pocket,
That's right.
I think would be very unwise. I mean, we can always go back and work on the rest of that project after the fact.
And not only that, we can take that out of the 2.4, whatever we have in the in TIF right now, or 2.5, whatever that number is. If it is 2.5 and we spend 500 matching, you have $2 million now at some point that you're going to be able to use in the TIF district and try to run some water lines and try to run some sewer lines and try to get some infrastructure in Iberia Parish so we can bring some business here and do something to build infrastructure. So believe me, it's well thought out. But it's up to the council. You do what you got to do.
Thank you, Mr. Rishaw.
You're welcome.
Done, Mr.
That's it. Mr. Dugas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. government by its nature is inefficient, and this process is very inefficient. I got to concur with Mr. Como. I don't know exactly what we've been. I don't know if it's a 8-foot road or a 10-foot road. I mean, I'd like to see some detail. My question to you, though, is, are we voting for you to execute an agreement, or are we voting to spend and start the project?
Execute an agreement.
So the agreement really has nothing to do with the project. It's still got to go out for bids and.
Oh, absolutely.
I've reviewed the agreement. The agreement is between Iberia Parish government of the state of Louisiana and the federal government to accept $2.2 million to help fund that project. That's what it's about. It's one agreement.
Okay.
No,
So
no,
it's not
no,
to-
no design, no nothing.
It's not to start the project.
That's right.
it's
They're,
just to
they're gonna,
receive the
but they're
money.
gonna be intimately involved, and they're gonna be dictating, as they do in many projects, because that's a state highway,
state
exactly
highway.
how it's gonna be done. But this, all this does is it gives it a project number, which puts it in line for funding and moves it forward. So if you want the $2.2 million, go for it. If you don't, and you wanna delay it, and you wanna put the $2.2 million at risk,
This is,
then, you know, you may have to deal with that one day when you have to spend your own $2.2 million and you lose $2 million that otherwise would have been available for sewer, water, and the infrastructure in that district.
I think we all just ask some questions, Andy.
Look, I'm trying
I
to,
see
I'm
you
trying
getting a
to,
little
and I'm trying to indicate to you the importance of this and to make you understand that this is not to fund, this is not to bid the project, it's not to design the project, it is simply to enter into a contract with the Municipal Planning Commission, with the state of Louisiana and the federal government for funding this program, for getting $2.2 million from somebody other than yourself.
And I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying that information should have been shared with us prior to going to
okay,
vote for it.
okay, can I say something? You guys probably got this information at the beginning of 2018. When you looked at the timeline, when Chris Cole stayed up there for 20 minutes talking to you, telling you exactly what this project was about. If you felt at that particular time that you did not know how the road was gonna be, if it's 8 foot like you just described or whatever, don't you think you should have said something instead of moving along, letting us try to get these dollars?
Well, I just assumed that we would get more detail as
From
the process
who?
went.
Yeah, you will get more. That's not what this is, Joe. This
And
is
that's what I
just,
asked. That was
this
my
is just
question.
moving the project, moving this along.
That's what
This
I-
thing is telling you that you was gonna try to get the number in March of 2018. We got that. In September, you was gonna get a state agreement. We got that. The environmental stuff is gonna start taking place in 2019. The design plan won't even become available till 2021. This is an agreement just to move forward to receive the dollars. That's all it is.
Thank you.
You're very
Okay.
welcome.
Seeing no other items on there, we will now be voting on summary number 2. Roll call? No. I never took a motion for the substitute. Okay, okay. Well, no, do you want to make a substitute?
First, a comment, if you will. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think any of us are really trying to delay any money. I think the thing is like we said earlier, about Dutch Gosnell, the lack of information. I mean, those type of things do matter when we come here to vote. So, nothing against you or anything in the process. But like Joe said, I mean, it's good to know certain things like that because most of us don't come here to vote blind.
How well we know,
So-
most of you don't come here.
Anyways, I'll reserve the right to allow the substitute motion to go and just let it go since it's just an agreement according to them.
So we pulled the substitute, so we're back to the
main
original
motion.
summary number 2, is what we're voting on. So roll call. That motion passes. Now we're moving on to summary number 6. Need a motion and a second. Have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Gonsalas?
Yeah, I just, as they pulled number 6, summary number 6, I just want to see the information. I just want to see the plan that we're getting out and so if you would kindly revise, I'd like to table it till we get the plan and then, vote on the next meeting if possible.
Okay, I'm gonna hold your table
Sure.
until we go through the rest of the, oh, Mr. Andy? Go ahead.
Time to accept the bid, and I don't know exactly when those
Yeah, right.
bids were
No, you're right.
received, and so if you go too far,
No,
that-
next meeting.
that contractor has the right to say, you know,
Next meeting.
Okay, okay. So Mr. Gonsalas is gonna want that substitute to table till next meeting, but we're gonna hold on. We got a couple more. We have Mr. Gashasam?
Mr. Chairman, this is one of the things where we're talking about, now we are on a time frame that we don't have the information on, just for the record. Number two, I think if we look back in the budget, we are expected to spend $4 million in the public building and maintenance this year, well exceeding what was spent in previous years, almost double, if I will. You know, this could have been a good project, but I think it's at the point in time where it's going to cost us in the long run substantially, a 50-year-old aging building. I would just urge my colleagues to really consider this before we make the final vote on it. It is a 50-year-old building. I know it was said that it would cost substantially to build a new one. Maybe we wouldn't get a 40,000 square foot building, but we would get a brand new facility. I'm not hearing Public Works in favor of it. I've talked to several employees. I've talked to, in the public, I'm not hearing an outcry of a building that we need. I think we've said certainly that we need to watch our spending because our levels in the millages aren't what they were. I think the tax mill, from what I'm gathering, was around 25 million missing. And I shouldn't say missing, but down 25 million. So just keep in mind, before this council is already talking about raising millages in a couple of months, this is something that we need to think about before we go spend a substantial amount of money and then turn around and ask the taxpayers to foot the bill because we're overspending. So this is one of the key elements that we keep saying, do we have a spending problem or do we have an income problem? Just keep that in mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Napier.
So look, I just want to make a quick comment. Andy, you threw that out there that we do have a time, and surely I do that type of work. I understand that that bid was, but look, we sit here at the pleasure of the people that put us here. When we got to answer about what we doing at Dutch Gosnell, what we spending, and we don't know, and it's on here for us to approve it, whether we approve it or we don't, we asked Mr. Richard to get us that and to come and put pressure on us tonight to do it when we've asked for that and we haven't received it. And then you getting all aggravated with us that because we're not trying to delay it. We just, hold on, I'll listen to you. Well, you know, we got to answer to those people out there. You don't, we do. You know, so look, we asked for it, we didn't get it. If there's a timeline, you know what? You need to go back to Menville and say, I dropped the ball. I didn't give what I needed to give to my council. Can you give me another week or two? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
might,
Mr. Shealy.
in response, I simply pointed out, which is my job, to point out that you may have a difficulty if you don't meet your timelines. I didn't twist anybody's arm.
It's not on us.
I didn't hold a gun to anybody's head and ask them to vote a certain way. I simply presented a legal issue that you may be getting into. That's all I did. Thank you very much.
Okay. You finished, Brian? Mr. Napier?
Yes.
You finished? Tommy Land, Ms. Okay, Tommy, go ahead.
Well, first of all, the architect stood up here and told us what this thing was gonna cost.
Not what it's cost. What's the
Okay,
scope
well,
of work, Tommy?
We're not going back and forth. Okay, go ahead,
I'm
Tommy.
not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody, okay? And again, you know, we have these time frames and the bid process, and administration has taken responsibility to do some things, and granted, we do, you know, we do have a lot of responsibility as it relates to, you know, going ahead and voting yes or no on these things. But you gotta give these people some kind of leeway, you know, as to what they think they need to do, and they bring it to us, and then just vote it up with no or yes. Vote up or down on it, you know? I mean, I don't understand what the big, you know.
Yeah, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Okay, that's it, Tommy? Ms.
I'm
Broussard?
done, I'm done.
Mr. Shealy, bids were opened on December 10th. When is the deadline?
40, should be 45, I think it's 45 days. So December the 10th, January the 10th, 25th, give or take.
So we have time.
We had 21 days there.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
You're right. When we sat in the meeting, I actually told Michael to send this to Brenda the next day, so Brenda can actually get it out. When you just told me that you didn't get it, I text Michael and I say, why didn't you send Brenda the work that's being done at the Public Works building? And he texts me back, I thought I did. That's not good enough. I'll take the responsibility for that. I'll totally take the responsibility for that. And if it's not gonna delay anything, listen, you need to know exactly what we're doing, whatever project we're doing. And I'm trying to give that information to you. But for us to sit down here and just go off the way we're doing, I understand it's an election year, and I understand we're gonna be talking a lot of things. But we have to make sure that we continue to move this parish forward. And let's try to keep all the negative out. I'll get you the information that Michael should have sent you when he come in on tomorrow, and he should be able to email it to you guys and just put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Brenda has to type it up the next day.
If that's what you want. It's up to y'all.
And Mr. Richard, I appreciate you taking responsibility for it. It is getting very heated, and that's why I was trying to bring it back down and say, do we have time to table it for the next meeting so that we can get the information without pointing the blame at anybody for getting it, not getting it.
I take full responsibility of it, but if you guys remember,
But if we have time, then we just soon table it, know what we're voting on, and we can do it at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, you finished?
I'll
Mr.
second
Sir?
Mr. Gonsalas' motion.
Okay, any other discussion? Hold up, guys. So if it was on the 10th, that gives us 21 days in December, and the next meeting is on the 23rd, that'll be 44 days. So the next day, if we pass it, we would have to type it up the next day, and Mr. Richard would sign it the next day.
And it's not gonna be anything that you really didn't see, because y'all basically seen everything that was done. We had a meeting, if y'all remember, maybe everyone was there. That's the problem. I'm trying to give y'all too much information, probably. But the problem is I can't get all the councilmen in at one time. So,
Well, I guess,
you can't come that often because you have work. I get that.
Well, that's the reason why they have
Right.
public
That's what I'm
meetings, to
saying.
have it in public meetings.
Right. I'm just saying, I'll try to give you
I
information.
guess what I gotta say, Mr. Richard, is that when the agendas are put together on the Thursday, you know, the 5 chairmans of my different committees and stuff, we see it, and then on the Friday, we actually get an email, all of us. So this was on there. Then on Saturday, we get it in the packets.
Right.
If we open our packets and read it, and anything you got a problem with, Monday morning, we can call Mr. Richard.
Right.
So, I agree with y'all, maybe it should have been there, but I also have to say, you know, like Mr. Napier, that we have the ability to call him and say, I have the problem with this. And Monday morning, you should have called again, okay? Yeah, you should have, you should have. You know you're gonna face it on Wednesday, you could have called Monday morning, okay? That's why we can't reduce the council, we're too lazy, okay? That's the whole problem with all this. You was there. So now we're going back to summary number 6 to, let's see, we were on the table to the 23rd, and we have a second by Ms. Gonsalas. So roll call. Ms. Broussard. Roll call. Brian. Okay, that table passes. Okay, ordinance introduced for public hearings, they have none tonight. Resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 228, introduced by Eugene Olivier, District 10. A resolution amending the 2019 blank fund budget in their proper appropriate amount of $180,000 to install flood control flap gates along South Lewis Street at Commercial Canal. Have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Goshasan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the reason why a lot of people are here and concerned, if you read the summary item, number one, we never identified funding source, which we should do before getting out of committee. And we didn't know the plans when it got out of committee. But again, it says to install flood control flapper gates. Now, if I'm reading that correctly, that is to take action to install flapper gates. This wasn't just thought up to say, well, we're going to put it on the agenda item to see if we can use Go Mesa money to spend it. This was, a resolution is to take action. So at the end of the day, this is where the misconception came out as we're reading something here and then we're hearing the administration and several council members saying that, oh no, we're just researching it to see if we can spend the money on that. Again, I want to reiterate for the record that a resolution is to take action. So several people are here from several different neighborhoods that would be affected in it. And I think the consensus is that Mr. Eugene did tell most of the people there, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we were going to delete this and then come back with better language of what he was trying to accomplish in the beginning. So I would ask him to honor that, like he said at that town hall meeting. Mr. Reshore was there also, and that's where the misconception is. So I don't want that to be watered down much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next up we have Mr. Olivier.
Yeah, I spoke to Kim, I think, a few days ago about possibly deleting the agenda item, but I had concerns. Maybe, Andy, you can clarify it. 'Cause normally if we delete an agenda item, it can't come back for 6 months. Am I correct? If it fails?
If it fails.
Deleting it is fail, or deleting it is just making it go away? 'Cause if not, I'd rather table it.
Deleting it is not taking any action on it in the way of passing or failing.
Okay, because my intent is to actually introduce a substitute resolution, but I can wait until Larry finishes all his engineering before we can do that, so.
So deleting it is not failing, it's just, you're just taking no action.
Just delete it. You're not
Right.
taking
Okay,
any
all
action.
right. Well, I'll agree with it. That was my only concern about deleting the actual
And
agenda
first of
item.
all, if I can, it won't even be worded like that anyway.
Correct, yeah.
If it come back to where you get your hydraulics engine, your study done, and if it come back where it's not gonna affect, and everybody's talking about, in here, talking about affecting upstream going to Briarwood. You got a lot of area between where those flapper gates gonna be if it's installed before you get to Briarwood. So it could affect a lot of areas in that, a lot in that particular, those areas as well. So it's more to this than just trying to figure out.
Right. Well, I want to make sure
when
we
water's gonna
address
get to
all the
Briarwood.
community concerns and the business concerns before we move forward on
I
this
would
agenda
just-
item.
I would
So
just delete it
I'll
personally.
go ahead and accept the deletion
I
if
would
you want to
delete
delete it, based on those circumstances.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, if he came back with a study, it's not, I mean, it's a total different resolution.
That's right.
It's changing the complexity. of
Right.
the motion.
Yeah, if you come back with a study where it is good, we already have the funds there. The only thing that's gonna happen then is I'm gonna just tell you that I would like to move forward with this project, and then we would all agree to move forward with the project. You're not gonna be amending anything because the money is already in the Go Mesa Fund.
The money's in the Go Mesa fund, but it's not in the project.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
What we would do is line item that particular project.
Okay, Mr. Eugene, and Mr. Richard, if I may, Mr.
Well,
Chairman, I would just.
Mr. Olivier still has the floor.
Okay, right. Yeah, I would accept a motion to delete this agenda item, if Warren would like to go ahead and delete it. Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so actually after Ms. Olivier, you're back. You want
That's
to
fine.
talk or you want to go, Ms.
I-
Broussard? Okay, Ms. Broussard, you're up next.
Mr. Reshord, some of the talk that I heard today was that the agenda item was going to be deleted because the money was already in the budget to be able to spend on the gates, and so you didn't need a resolution from the council. And just in an abundance of caution, I'm asking you to reiterate that you're not going to do
Don't
anything
worry.
without approval of the council.
I can't do that because I'm going against the FEMA flood management policy. You can't do that. And I'm not that person that's gonna be sitting here trying to get something done and then I'm gonna end up in a bind. So that's absolutely.
I know
not
you don't
gonna
like to
happen.
do anything without the council knowing,
Exactly.
but
But
being
he-
that was said,
Yeah,
I don't want the elephant in the room and to agree with this deletion, and then
No.
we get stuck with,
Guaranteed it's not happening.
thank you, Mr. Risher.
In fact, I actually said that in an interview with one of the television stations, we will not do any projects in Iberia Parish when it comes to flood control where we need to do, get some type of no-rise certificate without doing it, not as long as I'm here. So it's not going to happen.
Finish, Mr. Sir. Okay, Mr. Gustafson?
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask Mr. Olivier and Mr. Richard, when those discussions are going on, that the people that it's going to affect, that they have a word in of what's going on, or at least in the know. And I know it's our job to disseminate some of that information, but I think this is where a lot of this has come from. A lot of information wasn't provided, and by the time it got there, I mean, it was take action. So you can understand where a lot of these people are coming from.
I can too.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm okay with the deletion.
Okay, so.
Did he make a move?
We have a motion to
second it.
delete, and a second to
Yes,
delete. No
please.
more discussion, roll call. Brian? Okay, that deletion passes. Summary number 230, introduced by Paul G. Landry, a resolution appointing one member to the Iberia Parish Hospital Service District Number 1 Board, representing the medical staff for a 4-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of term for Dr. Larry Nelson, whose term expires December 27, 2018. Applications to be submitted by the medical staff by January 11, 2018. Okay, I need a motion. Motion by Tommy Landry and a second by Mr. Brown. Tommy Landry?
Move to table.
Okay, we have a motion to table, but I have some more discussion. We're going to go to Mr. Brown.
I'm good.
You're good with that? Okay, Mr. Gonsolin? Okay. Okay, so we're looking. Okay, so we have a substitute motion to table on the floor by Tommy Landry, second by, oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
I just want to provide you some information that I think is crucial.
Okay.
Not trying to direct anybody's vote, simply trying to provide you some information. You know, the charter was amended in 2017 to provide that no member serving on a board or commission may serve more than 3 consecutive terms. And I give this information so that the medical staff will know, so that as many people as possible who may have an interest in this position can apply for it. Dr. Nelson first, in 1998, filled an unexpired term, which doesn't count, but I just wanted you to know, he filled a 2-year term, 2 years remaining on a term. In 1999 was his first full term. That ended in 2003. In 2003 to 2007, he served his second full term. In 2007 to 2010, he served another full term, although it was a 3-year term, and there was an anomaly that occurred in 2007. The legislature had passed in 2001 an amendment to the state statute that specifically dealt, however, with Iberia Parish. That particular amendment said that no more than 3 positions could come up in any 1 year in order to make sure that there was always continuity in the board. In that particular year, for some reason, there were 5 that came up, and so they drew lots for staggered terms, and Dr. Nelson's had a 3-year term. Then, from 2010 to 2015, he continued to serve, although there was not a nomination made and the council didn't take any action, but because no one had been appointed to fill the vacancy, he continued for an additional period of time. And so now he's ending another 4-year term. So in effect, he has probably served 5 full terms, certainly 4. So probably is not going to be eligible for reappointment.
Okay. And I guess in my head, I'm thinking of the letter that we sent to them, that they would accept applications till the 4th, and they would have us by the 11th, which is
And the
Friday.
reason, yeah, because you sent that letter and because you announced it and because you said you put a notice in the paper, and you also asked that they post it at the hospital. I simply wanted those medical staff members who might be interested to know that it appears that Dr. Nelson is not eligible for reappointment. In the past, the council waived that requirement, but it is now a charter requirement, so not something that you could waive that you could have perhaps in the past. Just a point of
Okay.
information on that.
Point taken. Next up is Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown? Okay. Mr. Napier?
So, we tabling it because of this, explain.
Well, the timeline was, they had till the 4th, January 4th, to get
January
it to the
4th,
medical
okay.
staff. They have till the 11th to get it to us, which is Friday.
Friday.
So we might not have all the information, plus what Andy has let us know. So if we table it to the next meeting.
So are they aware of what you just said? The hospital?
The press is certainly here.
The hospital.
No, they're aware of it because this was a discussion that took place. And of course, the major part of the discussion was, the council's at fault because you didn't notify us that, that we had more than one.
Because I think Dr. I don't know if he's still here. I thought I might have misunderstood. I thought he said that he was the chosen one.
Dr. Mata has applied. I believe that
Dr. Benson. No, but what I'm saying is, I thought he said that he was chosen by the. Did I hear? Did y'all heard that?
I thought I heard that too, but I'm not.
That he was appointed by the medical staff. No.
Well, let's be careful.
I thought that's what he said.
No. That may be what he said, but let's be careful about the terms we use because it's important. The council has the choice. Any board or commission that has a right to nominate someone, and let's talk about nominees, they are to submit all names of interest and designate their preferred choice. But even though they designate a preferred choice, it is your choice. The council is who appoints that person.
But I understand what you're saying, totally. But so when the resolution says Dr. Nelson, but Dr. Mata said, and I just want to make sure I'm not confusing that.
But remember, this is
That
actually
was before?
Yeah, this is a carryover from because initially that is the way it came to us.
Okay.
With only Dr. Nelson.
Dr. Nelson. Okay. So it's going to be tabled to the next meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Tommy?
One issue that's come up, and I had called State Board of Ethics as it related to board members serving who are employed by the hospital. And I got a negative on that. That if you were employed, you weren't available to apply to the board at the hospital. Now, Dr. Mott, I spoke with him yesterday. He called the State Board of Ethics, and he was told a totally different thing. Okay, and there's some concern as to whether you're employed, whether you have a contractual relationship, or you just have, like in Dr. Motta's case, he stated that he was doing chart reviews for the hospital and he receives a certain amount of money for that. And the Board of Ethics told him that doesn't matter. You can do that. So there's some confusion. The other part of this equation was that there was a population number which required the hospital, physicians to, in other words, there wasn't a big enough pool of physicians based upon population. So those requirements by ethics were kind of like, pushed aside. And I don't know where that number is and what it is, but I think before, and if you caught it, Benson has no affiliation with Iberia Medical at all, other than he's providing, physician services to patients. Dr. Mata's got a couple of issues, and I told him this on the phone. I said, you need to call ethics and find out. But I was told something totally different about the employment issue than than Dr. Mata. He addressed the employment issue also because he was concerned about it just as a physician, and he was told something totally different than I was. So I'd like to direct either Brenda or Andy and the DA's office to come up with a clear definition so that we don't have to go through this process next week or 2 weeks from now and look at it, he might have a conflict. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I just want the process to be smooth so we're not calling out all this stuff in a couple weeks.
Mr. Landry, if I could.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Shealy.
The Board of Ethics is the only one that can make that determination. What I am certainly willing to do is to forward that particular statute that you referred to, the one that has the exception, to Parker or to Dr. Menard or to someone, just to make certain that any doctor that applies is on notice of that potential ethical problem.
That's good.
That's it, Tommy?
Yeah.
Mr. Gonsalas?
No, I did hear what Dr. Mata said, that the medical staff did appoint him, and in the past, over several years, and Tommy can attest to this, that we traditionally, went along with the medical staff's appointment because they know what the needs of the hospital and how the hospital is being run. But you're right, this council has the ultimate choice, but typically we only basically had one appointment in previous years from the medical staff at that position. So I would just like a clarification of who did the medical staff recommend, for next meeting.
Give us by the 11th.
That's right, by the
That's why
11th,
we're
so
tabling it.
that's why. So I'd like that recommendation, so who is the medical staff gonna recommend to this council sit on that position on the board? That's what I'm asking.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Yeah. You're right, Ricky, but the only thing was, they only sent one name. That's all, that's
No, I
all
agree
we,
with that. I agree with
they didn't ever send whether
More.
some others applied, whether they were aware that they could apply, but it was only one name, so that's why we always went with it. Okay, good.
Okay, no further discussion. What we're voting on is a table to the next meeting of January 23rd.
questions we asked to be addressed.
Correct, with the questions that we have to be addressed. Roll call. Okay, that motion passes. Summary number 7, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution appointing Mr. William Richard Ware to the Iberia Parish Communications District, representing the ambulance service for a 4-year term to fill a vacancy created by the expiration of the term of Mr. Jimmy Dupuy, whose term expires March 10th, 2019. I have a motion by Mr. Olivier and a second by Michael Landry. Mr. Olivier? Michael Landry? Okay. Mr. Ware, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, you need to speak in front of the council before we can vote, and just tell us a little something about yourself.
My name is William Ware. I'm employed with the Acadian Ambulance Service. Currently serving as a paramedic field supervisor. I moved to this parish in 2007. Began my service with Acadia in 2009. I love my job. I enjoy doing what I do. And I think having the understanding that I have between the relationship between the 911 system and Acadian Ambulance, it maybe help bridge some of those gaps that we discussed earlier. And better serve the citizens of New Iberia. And that's what the ultimate goal of emergency services is, service into the public and their best interest. And I think I can help
Okay.
be an asset to the board.
Good, yeah, we appreciate it. No further discussion, roll call. Brian? No. Go ahead and end it. That motion passes. Thank you for your appointment. Summary number 8, introduced by the Regional Planning Commission, a resolution granting preliminary and final approval to Lot 1-B-1, Jeremy and Blister Court for residential use located in District 9. All is reviewed and recommended by the Iberia Parish Regional Planning Commission. I have a motion by Mr. Dugas, a second by Tommy Landry. Mr. Dugas?
Wait,
Tommy Landry? No further discussion, roll call. Oh,
There was several things that were required, that was in our packet for it. Have all those requirements been met?
Not yet.
So why are we approving it before it's met? Is it,
Preliminary approval.
this says preliminary and final.
And final, conditioned upon them meeting everything. Actually, they're almost done. I got the final piece of the puzzle today. I just haven't had a chance to meet up with Herman yet because I've been trying to get the stormwater permit renewed and out.
Shouldn't the resolution say final pending fulfilling all those requirements?
You can definitely, this is what I would recommend, that you change or add to the language, I should say, stating that you are going to grant it based upon conditions 1 through 4 and plat revisions 1 through 18. And then that covers everything.
Subject to.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd move to amend the resolution to say that it's final approval subject to fulfilling the conditions of 1 through 4 and the plat conditions 1 through 18.
And if you want to reference a document, that's in the staff report. And I can, do you want the date too?
okay, I have a motion.
In the staff report dated, what?
Hold on, sorry. November 8th, sorry. No, I lied. December 10th, 2018.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, it's
Okay,
the
we have
13th. It's December 13th, I'm sorry, not the 10th.
We have an amendment to the resolution stating what Ms. Sarah said and Ms. Broussard. I have a second by Mr. Tommy Landry. Any further discussion? Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, it's not Mr. Dugas.
if it's not final, why does it say recommended by the Iberia Parish Regional Planning Commission?
Because the planning commission recommends to you guys,
They're recommending final approval.
preliminary and final based upon these things.
Subject to these things.
Subject to them meeting these conditions.
Okay, well, it didn't say that, but that's fine, thank you.
That's what my amendment says.
Okay.
Okay. No further discussion. Roll call. Michael? Go ahead, end it. Okay, that motion passes with the amendment. Going on to summary number 9, introduced by the Recreation and Playground Commission, a resolution amending the 2019 Recreation and Playground Commission fund budget in the amount of $9,157 to provide for capital improvement carryovers for Grand Mary. I have a motion by Mr. Olivier and a second by Michael Landry. Mr. Olivier. Okay, Mr. Michael Landry. Okay, Ms. Broussard.
Kim, is this changing their fund balance at all, or is it just carrying over something that wasn't spent?
So this number was actually included in the projection. They didn't spend it. We're going to ending balance.
Stay the same. Thank you.
Okay. That's it, Ms. Broussard?
Yes.
Next up is Mr. Napier.
No, she answered me.
Okay. Okay, no further discussion. Roll call. Joel's gone. Brown. Right. Go ahead and end it. Okay, that motion passes. We have a motion to adjourn. Roll call. Take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back.